And I'm doing the side that's good.
Oh, yeah, you could use mine.
Well, I could use YouTube too. I mean, I could use that. Are we there?
We are broadcasting and recording.
Okay. Oh, wow. But it won't go live. It won't go on there until we post it. So is Madeline here?
No, it is live right now.
It is.
Yeah, so she has the link. She should be able to do it. So if you look at your phone, you can check your just to see.
You send her the link for the
If you go back to YouTube, you can I'll go back. Up there. And then you should be able to send it from here, like over the edit. I sent it to you. Have you clicked the link question mark? Does it work question mark? You have them on the open and left click. It should come there. Send that to her. Oh, check your own. I'll tell you. My personal. Will. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Madeline. It's Michelle. You are content. Hi. It's not happening. So I just tried resending you the link again. Well, we're broadcasting live, so we're going to it's not the other day, but I wanted to do the book to send it with Hilda, and I was being invited to something. Yeah, are you signed in to you see it? We don't see you yet, but that's good. If you want to turn on, you can hear us on the
She has a webcam, right?
Okay, we should be in good shape, but we just lost her on the phone. Hi. We don't hear you.
Yeah, and I was like, I saw you streaming.
What is that?
It's off.
not
It's
red.
just because if it's red, it's on. And these are all good. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure. Can I call her back? She's not here, right? She's this viewer. She's a viewer. She can hear us, but she's not. Hi. Okay, so you are a viewer.
We need to go back and send her the other link that makes her a participant.
Okay.
Send her that.
Okay, so I'm going to send you a different link because that just made you see us. And now what we're going to do is go back and send this link. And this should work in theory. You know, I had trouble with Google Hangouts and then they changed it all over again. And now I really have trouble with Google Hangouts because it's YouTube Live. So let's see where we are now. Try the new link that we just sent to you. Google must have like mega terabytes, whatever the next level is of terabytes of people saying, gee, can you see me now? Can you see me now? There she is.
Okay, can you see me? Okay, I'm gonna hang up now.
Hi,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for doing this. Sorry about the technical.
No, that's okay. It seems to every hangout I have starts with 15 minutes trying to get Google Hangouts to work. I'm Michelle. Hi.
Hello. Good. Thanks for doing this.
Hello. And she's a social studies teacher here at the high school. And her, that would be your left, but it's Jackie Waiting, who is my co-librarian. I'm going to close the door so it's not quite so noisy in here. And we're really happy to talk with you. And
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
this is really, you're getting a taste of what it's like from the get-go, because honestly, we've done very little discussion about this so far to date. So what would normally happen, and this is what's going to happen now, is Chris has a research need or a learning need in her class. So go ahead and tell us what it is that you are looking for.
So this is going to be for my civics class. We're talking about a few juniors, mostly seniors, so most of them have gone through the research paper process. But one of the things that we've noticed is students are really having a difficult time, especially with the presidential election going on, differentiating between what is actually news, what's opinion, and then within the opinions, what's an editorial, what's an op-ed, what's a letter to the editor, because especially if you're going on to like Huffington Post or something like that, it's not always clear what it is. And so I've had students who have tried to do news reports, but they're using an opinion piece or vice versa. So they really need to actually start differentiating before we start creating our online voters guide, because that is going to determine what are they actually using for their resources.
Okay.
So one of the things that will usually happen in a situation like this is I'll say, listen, okay, Chris, we have a couple of lessons that we've already used in different ways, and let me run through a few of your options. So one is we have a lesson where we just bring in literally a class set worth of newspapers. So we'll bring in New York Times and we'll bring in Wall Street journals. And we'll alternate drop one on every single student's desk. And the instructions are, find the opinion section of the newspaper. And this is print. So they're like, oh, I haven't used one of these since I was in preschool. So that's one and then we have seen it take juniors 20 minutes to find the opinion section of the newspaper. It is shocking. As somebody who writes for work, I'm sure you find that probably devastating, but it's the reality that we're up against. And if they can't find it in the print section, which has an index, a table of contents, and is marked on the top of the page, you can imagine how hard it is to find it in an actual online newspaper, where very seldom is it marked at the top of the page. The New York Times happens to be great about this. The Wall Street Journal uses words like, review, and what the Wall Street Journal has a different phrase for it. Comment and review, it's a whole different phrase that they use. So that's one lesson that we have, but it takes a long time. So when we're having this conversation, I'm asking Chris, how much time do you want to give to this? Do we want to let them fumble around with a print paper for 20 minutes before we can actually go delve into a real lesson on how to distinguish different types of journalism? So what's your time frame?
You basically have a period, 48 minutes. You can have the whole 48 minutes, but we've only got 48 minutes to kind of figure this out. And I'm not a huge print person. I don't like the feeling of newsprint. I get all my newspapers online, and quite frankly, that's where the students are going. So while I think it's helpful to have the print newspaper, the reality is they're not going to be interacting that way. So I don't know how useful for them.
So in this collaborative conversation, I'm hearing no, couched very, very nicely. And so,
nice.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip right over that experience, and that's fine. We're not married to it, and some kids have had it and some kids haven't. And we're going to move straight on to, okay, how do we get them in 47 minutes to start understanding the differences between basically news reports, op-ed, editorial, and a blog. So another option we had, and this is one that we did with some of your classes last year, and we've done in many iterations over the course of the years, where we take similar content articles and we find one blog post, one news report, one op-ed piece, one editorial piece. We take out any markings that would say that what they are, and we have them read through, and we underscore specific words in the text to try to get them to think carefully about the writing. And then they have to, at the end, decide which was which. And that's a real challenge. There's a lot of reading involved, was one of the things we face.
A lot of reading, but I think that's what they need. They need to get those textual clues, because just like you said, if you go online to the New York Times, it's really easy. You go to the Washington Post, it's a different phrase. But if we're teaching them different phrases or markings to look for, we're hoping that everyone's using those.
Right.
That really what they need to do is they need to become better textual readers, so that they can really determine, what is this piece.
And contextual readers.
Yes, and contextual readers, so that they're getting it. So I think one potential topic that could come up, believe it or not, they're already getting sick of the election, and we still have to do the voter's guide. So I'm thinking let's stay away from anything having to do with Hillary or Donald
I'm sick of the election.
as the topic, because it's just it's too depressing. But one thing that has come up in conversation in my classes that I think actually would be kind of a little cool, because there was also just another article in the New Yorker over the weekend about this, Colin Kaepernick and his protest of the national anthem. Because we do have a law here in Connecticut that says that the Pledge of Allegiance, we have to make time for it to be said. But it doesn't require students to actually say it. We actually do have a Supreme Court case that has this brilliant exposition on freedom of expression and what does this mean in our democracy. But a lot of, especially the bloggers who are writing about Colin Kaepernick, have no idea about this Supreme Court case.
Oh, so it'd be interesting to find.
Does the class know yet?
The class doesn't know that there's a Supreme Court case unless.
Is that in Connecticut? But that applies to Connecticut specifically, or no?
You must make time to have the Pledge of Allegiance. That is a state law here in Connecticut that came out in the wake of 2011, the September 11th attacks.
Okay.
And that big wave of patriotism.
Okay.
What the kids and I have talked about in class is with the pledge, the fact that under God was put in during the 1950s to show that we were a Christian nation and not like those atheist commies.
Godless communists.
Yes. So
And have you connected the pledge to the anthem?
we have not gone all that way.
Okay.
We're doing the day before this, taking a look at the Bill of Rights, and in particular, the First Amendment.
Okay.
So the day before this lesson, we will be talking about the Establishment Clause, and that's where we're going to be talking about, okay, well, where can you have other forms? Like the national anthem doesn't have under God in it, but it's still one of those big things. And it's like, every time you hear the national anthem, don't you normally stand up?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you normally take off your baseball cap and whatnot? We have these traditions. But what is tradition versus what is required?
Right.
And there have been a number of cases that have been coming out lately in the news, not just Colin Kaepernick
Mm-hmm.
and the NFL players, but other students in
But
colleges.
there's female soccer players, right?
Right.
There's entire collegiate teams that are doing it now. There's a lot of intense
Right,
focus
it's running
around
out
athletics. And then another interesting piece of the conversation is, why are we playing the national anthem at sporting events?
Mhm.
What's the connection there?
No.
So I think that's another interesting piece of it. So in a past life, when doing free speech versus free expression,
I used to go around the room and ask certain students to stand.
Mhm.
And then I would ask the rest of the class to tell us what this person is saying.
Mhm.
And they had to, without the person speaking at all. And what
Yeah.
they were very quickly started to unpack is, oh, that person's wearing a crucifix. That person's wearing a Star of David. This person's wearing Barlow gear. This person's wearing gear for a professional sports team. This person is
Mhm.
wearing some, and eventually start to say, oh, between your backpack, the buttons on your backpack, your t-shirts, your jewelry, you're saying a lot without speaking. And that's the issue here. He's saying a lot without speaking. Does he have the right to say what he's saying?
Right.
So,
And here's the connection is we're just finishing off
mhm.
constitutionalism. We're going to be taking a look at the presidential election briefly to start doing the voter's guide, but the next unit is actually civil rights and civil liberties.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a good
that's
bridge.
where we're heading. So, but before you can really talk about civil rights and civil liberties, if you're asking them to pull new stuff from the news, they need to know what's really news versus what's opinion and whatnot.
Great.
So this is one of those pivot lessons.
Love
That's
it.
kind of neat.
A segue. Okay, so I'm hearing, I'm hearing that these are search terms that we should probably hope to find in our articles. So Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, civil rights, civil liberties, First Amendment. Those would all be search terms that would probably help the lesson
Mhm.
content if we had those in the in the text.
Right, like the New Yorker,
Additionally,
like the New Yorker article is too long for this.
okay, yeah, they tend to be.
But
But a blogger from Connecticut might be a really good thing to get
Mhm.
because we have the specific law here in Connecticut. So that's something that we'll take a look for.
okay.
The New Yorker article, do you think there's any excerpt that we could probably pull together from that? Or would you
Yeah.
rather, okay, so
No,
maybe,
there could be an excerpt taken in terms of, because it was kind of chunked
mhm.
as the article was going through. So you could easily take a piece of it. I
Okay.
mean, we will eventually be reading the entire thing when we get to civil rights and civil
Okay.
liberties.
In order to point out that some of the people who are writing about this and sounding off about this are not as informed as other people who are participating in the dialogue, do you want any Supreme Court cases to appear in any of the sources? Would you like a source that references the flag burning case?
Yeah, I even if it doesn't refer to the case, if they're referring to evidence of some sort,
Okay.
So that they're not just opining upon this, because the bloggers and the ones that the kids seem to really be listening to aren't really referencing anything other
So
than cultural norms.
We kind of want
Right.
to look for a blog that doesn't have evidence, that's failed to meet that criteria.
Right, they're talking about cultural norms. You can probably find that on ESPN.
Mhm.
But also, I don't know if this is putting too much in,
Mhm.
but looking at, a writer from a liberal point of view versus a writer from a conservative point of view.
All right, and I know you have to go soon, so I want to be fast.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure that we're addressing those. Like, remember, if you remember last year, we really struggled to find a conservative that favored Trump. It was
Right.
a real challenge.
But
So
I
hopefully
think
we'll
this
have
one is
better
easier.
luck. We'll have better luck
I
with
think
this one.
I think this is an easier one because a lot of kids are seeing it as a liberal versus conservative concept.
Right. So let's talk about technology for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
because for the first time we have every kid's going to have a computer in their, hopefully.
Hopefully,
They're seniors.
some of them may still be using their phones, and I've been sending them into the library to pick up an
Yep.
iPad or
Or
a
something.
laptop.
All right, so let's talk about technology. What we did last year was a slideshow.
Mhm.
We can move that into Nearpod and interact with them and have them
Yes.
actually examining the text. And I think this might be a really great opportunity for us to sort of introduce that to the classroom setting.
Right.
We just tried it with one class and it wasn't even particularly complete or thorough, and we were able to have a lot of success. So
Yeah, I love Nearpod. I think that's
Okay.
great.
So we'll do Nearpod. And then that keeps them all checked in the whole time.
Right.
It's really hard for them to get off task.
Another thing that we could
Mhm.
check into and just make sure that it's going to be working technologically is having them copy and paste the text into a word cloud and then let them just start to examine
Mhm.
what are the words that are used most frequently and what similarities and differences can they see between the sources
Yeah.
just
That's a great
based on
idea.
the vocabulary.
That's great because the class you're coming in to do this with, the period 6 class, you have some very strong opinionated individuals in that class. Some on the conservative side, some on the liberal side. They love to talk and discuss.
Great. Okay.
So this is a class that I actually sometimes have a problem keeping on task
Okay.
because we're talking and we just end up taking it in a totally different direction. So that's why I like the Nearpod.
Okay.
That'll give them
I like
something
that
to go
activity
back
too. That would
to.
be a lot of fun. Maybe we could use a word.
Mhm.
What was it? Was this a word garden? Idea garden? Thought garden?
Wonder Garden is where they paste the words or phrases in.
Right.
We were going to have to look
Well, we were
at
gonna do the reverse.
Tagxedo or Wordle.
We'll have to look
Yeah.
at Wordle because
We're having trouble with the
Safari. There are browser issues with
browser
Wordle.
issues,
So
right.
And Tagxedo also has browser issues.
right.
Tuxedo, you need Silverlight.
Right, and there's an add-on that you can do within
Google, isn't there?
Google.
All right.
But we need to check the add-on
Permissions.
permissions.
Google Word Cloud. Right. Okay. So let's take a look at that. All right. So our basically next steps are for us to find the articles, run them by you, and then we will start working on a slideshow. So I think that we should be done with that by the end of school tomorrow, hopefully. Do you think we can do that, Jackie?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And then we will be ready to rock and roll, move it into
Okay.
Nearpod and build in some questions tomorrow afternoon. And
Okay.
then be ready for Wednesday.
I have 3, 1, and 7 free tomorrow. So if we need to touch base again.
Okay,
To
I'm
go
writing
over-
that down because I'm not gonna.
Right.
Yeah.
So just in case we need to touch base so that we
Okay.
can go over the
Articles.
articles. If you need anything else from me. I'm
Okay.
excited. I think this is going to be awesome.
I think this is good. What I didn't tell you, I'm sorry, Madeline, is Madeline or Madeline?
Madeline.
Madeline, is that Jackie is new to librarianship, but just coming in from teaching government. So this,
So we like having
this is
Jackie
a
here.
really great fit for this conversation. It's important that she be here. That's pretty much, we're going to release Chris because she has to go, her lunch just started. So we want to make sure she has time to eat with her peeps. So
Yeah,
thank
because
you.
I teach the rest of the day.
Thank you.
So,
Go eat.
all right.
We want
Thank
to
you.
use all
I'm
of your time.
I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
I will see you on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Awesome. I
Awesome.
can't wait.
There you go.
All right.
Bye.
We're going
All
to
right, bye.
squeeze in. And just,
Yeah.
if you have any questions for us at this point, you can ask them and I can share my notes with you if you
Okay,
want.
yeah, that would be great. So I heard you mention that every student has a computer
This
in
is
class
great.
this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, I guess I don't have any questions right now. I'm excited for the class. And then I guess if we could sit down and talk before or after the class on Wednesday, maybe after would be best if you guys have time.
Probably better. And
Yeah.
let's just see how Wednesday looks.
So the classes
So classes period, what period are we doing with you?
5 or 6.
I think you said 12.
Yes. So it's 12:20 is when we're meeting. So
Okay.
that's perfect. We have
So we can
nothing
talk.
going on afterwards.
Okay, great.
We're great.
Great. Just kind of run through it, everything. Okay, great. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. And are you driving? How are you getting here?
Train.
You're
So
taking.
yeah, I'm taking the train and then I guess getting a cab over to the school.
Okay. There's Uber here. And
Okay.
what time is your train arriving?
Tuesday night. So
Oh, you're staying overnight.
yes.
Okay. Where are you staying?
Stanford.
Okay. There's plenty of places downtown. So then
Okay.
how are you getting to New Canaan from Stanford? I'm just
think-
trying to make sure that you're covered.
There looks to be a train or like a small shuttle.
There is a smaller train.
Okay. Great.
I would volunteer to pick you up at the train station, but I have a class right before that.
Oh, no
So,
worries.
I don't know what time you plan on arriving here on campus. What time?
I'm really flexible. I don't want to be in your way, but I can whenever is fine.
Well, if you get here before 11 and you need to be picked up, I don't have a class until 11.
Okay.
I have an early morning class period 2. Then I have a couple of free periods between 9:15 and 10:45. So
Okay.
if you arrive then, what we can come pick you up because that train stops right around the corner from school. It's pretty
Oh,
close.
okay. Great.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Just text me the details. That's probably the best way to reach me. You have my cell phone number because I just called you.
Okay. I don't know if I wrote that down, so do you mind giving
Yeah,
it?
it's 203.
Okay.
You're saying this on a.
There you go. Oh.
Can you see the chat?
Can I?
I'll just email it to you. That's probably
Okay, that's great.
okay. And I think that's pretty much it. We will look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. I hope we have better weather than we do now. It's nasty out. And have a great couple of days. And we'll share the document with you that we draft up from today, and you'll get to see our progress on that one document that we'll share.
Okay, great.
The three of us. Okay.
Okay,
Great.
thanks so much.
Thanks very much, Madeline. Bye bye.